Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhujakacharya Asatas Rishishimat. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Gota Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem Sagaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamunamai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Go Premanandi. All glory is to some of the devotees. All glory is some of the devotees. All glory is some of the devotees. All glory is to Shishi Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 14, King Pururava, and chanted by Urvasi, text number 47. Tena yagjata yagyesam bhagavantam adhoksajam excuse me, my eyes are going bad here. Or asi lokam anichan sarva devamayam harim tenaya jatta yagyesang bhagavantam adhoksajam orvasi lokam anvichan sarva devamayam harim tenaya jatta yagyesang bhagavantam adhoksajam orvasi lokam anvichan sarva devamayam harim tenaya jatta yagyesang bhagavantam adhoksajam orvasi lokam anvichan sarva devamayam harim orvasi lokam anvichan. Bhagavantam adhoksajam orvasi lokam anvichan sarvadheva mayam harim tinaya jatta yagyesam Bhagavantam adhoksajam orvasi lokam anvichan Sarvadeva Tinaya Bhagavatam Madhokshajam Urvasi Lokam Amrityam Sarvadeva Mayam Hari. Tena, by generating such a fire, Ayajata, he worshipped. Yagya Isham, the master or enjoyer of the yagya. Bhagavantam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adhoksajam, beyond the perception of the senses. Urvasi Lokam, to the planet where Urvasi was staying. Anvichan, although desiring to go. Sarvadeva Mayam, the reservoir of all demigods. Harim, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki. By means of that fire, Pururava, who desired to go to the planet where Urvasi resided, performed a sacrifice by which he satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the enjoyer of the results of sacrifice. Thus he worshipped the Lord, who is beyond the perception of the senses and is the reservoir of all the demigods. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagatapasam Sarvalokam Maheshwaram, any loka or planet to which one wants to go is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the enjoyer of the performance of sacrifice. The purpose of yagya is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, as we have explained many times, this yagya of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only sacrifice that can satisfy the Supreme Lord. When the Lord is satisfied, one can fulfill any desire, material or spiritual. Bhagavad Gita 3:14 also says, Yagyad bhavanti, yagya bhavati parjanya. By offering sacrifices to Lord Vishnu, one can have sufficient rainfall. When there is sufficient rainfall, the earth becomes fit to produce everything. Sarva kama dugha mihi. If one can utilize the land properly, one can get all the necessities of life from the land, including food grains, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. This brings to mind something, and I'll continue with the purport. Back in the 70s in America, in about 4 or 5 different states, there was a big drought. And there was one sannyasi on a radio interview, and this radio station went to all these states and more. Okay. So, in this radio interview, the interviewer was speaking to this sannyasi and saying, so you say God is in control of everything. So He's also in control of the rain, yes? Yes, He's in charge of the rain. So you chanted this mantra earlier. So if we get all the people that are listening to this radio program right now, do you think that rain will come? And the devotee in great faith said, yes. So the radio interviewer said, okay, let's try it. Everybody listening. Now there's like millions of people listening to this. we're in a big drought now. Let's give it a try. Everybody that's listening to this, repeat after what this Swami is going to say. And they chanted the Hare Krishna mantra. That night, poured down rain for 4 days. Yeah. So, Anad Bhavanti Bhutani. So a lot of people got a lot of faith in Krishna from that interview and that chanting. Everything one gets from material wealth is produced from the earth, and therefore it is said, Sarva Kama Dugha Mihi. Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam 1:10-4. Everything is possible by performing yajna. Therefore, although Pururava desired something material, he factually performed yajna to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is adhoksaja, beyond the perception of Pururava and everyone else. Consequently, some kind of yajna must be performed to fulfill the desires of the living entity. Yajnas can be performed in human society only when society is divided by varnashram dharma into the 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. Without such a regular process, no one can perform yajnas, and without the performance of yajnas, no material plans can make human society happy at any time. Everyone should therefore be induced to perform yajnas. In this age of Kali, the yajna recommended is Sankirtan, the individual or collective chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This will bring the fulfillment of all necessities for human society. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnanatamurandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshum Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Ukram Kutavachalang Pangum Lang Hayate Garim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shikarum Dinataranam Vanchakalpa Tubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Putitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this King Pururava was an extremely attached king. I don't know of any person I've ever heard of that was so attached. He wanted to take birth again on the same planet as Urvasi. Very attached. So sometimes people ask, well, why? Why is that attachment so strong? A man to a woman to a man. Why? Why is that? It originates with Radha and Krishna. Krishna is very attached to Radharani. And Radharani is very attached to Krishna. So that's where it began. And here, unfortunately, people are trying to imitate that. I was distributing books one time in Australia, and I was talking to this couple, young couple, and as I was showing the book to them, he said, I'm Krishna. And she said, I'm Radharani. And I said, that's what everybody thinks. Yeah. So then, fortunately, they took a book, and hopefully they'll understand they're servants of Radha and Krishna. So this is the problem in the material world. People are trying to imitate Krishna and Radharani. So the purpose of the human form of life is to understand, actually, I'm the servant of Radha and Krishna. I'm not the enjoyer. So instead of trying to imitate Krishna, better to preach the glories of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. And then we get purified of this contamination. There was an interesting pastime with Srila Prabhupada in the about mid-70s. Prabhupada had heard about one brahmachari that was doing some very good preaching, traveling around the country preaching. And this brahmachari happened to arrive at the same place where Prabhupada was at one point. And Prabhupada saw this brahmachari and was introduced to him, and Prabhupada could see this. He's enthusiastic, very enthusiastic. So he asked him, "So, you want to take sannyas?" Back then it was very easy. So the devotee said, "Yeah, I'd like to take sannyas." So Prabhupada said, "All right, come to my room this afternoon and we'll discuss the sannyas ceremony." He was going to take sannyas the next day. So it was an emergency situation. So Prabhupada very easily gave sannyas. So that afternoon, this brahmachari went to Prabhupada's room, and back then there was some screening. You couldn't just walk into Prabhupada's room. So the secretary was there, and this brahmachari went there to see Prabhupada. So the secretary said, "Do you have an appointment to see Prabhupada?" Yeah, I'm going to discuss with Prabhupada about my sannyas ceremony. And the secretary said, "You're going to take sannyas? Do you know what that means? That means no sex the rest of your life. Do you ever have sex desire?" And he said, "Well, sometimes, I don't know if you should take sannyas, that's a big leap." And then they were talking and talking and talking. And after about a half hour, they were discussing about who he should marry. Complete turnaround. So then Prabhupada saw this brahmachari the next day, and he said, "I thought you were going to come see me. We're going to talk about the sannyas ceremony." And the brahmachari said, "Well, Prabhupada, I was thinking maybe I should get married." And Prabhupada said to him, "Who's been talking to you?" And he said, "Well, Prabhupada, your secretary." And Prabhupada said, "Syamasundar, get in here." So he said, "Why are you talking to my brahmacharis? He wanted to take sannyas, now he wants to get married. Why are you doing like that?" So Syamasundar said, "Well, Prabhupada," he said, "sometimes he has sex desire." And Prabhupada made a very interesting comment now. He said, "Anybody that has a material body will have sex desire." So then Syamasundar said, "Oop, sorry, Prabhupada." So that's the nature of this body. There's going to be sex desire. And not only in conditioned souls, but in liberated souls. Jamunacharya, one of the most famous acharyas still to this day. What did he say? Yadavadhi mamacheta Krishna padaravinde nava rasadami yuntim ratimasi. Tadavadhi but the nari sangame smaryamani bhavati mukha vikar sususni vinamcha. So he says, since I've been engaged in the service of Krishna, experiencing ever fresh pleasure at every moment, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. So here's someone who's a pure devotee, Paramahamsa, great Vaishnava. Still the thought comes, but he spits at the thought. Why? Because he's got a higher taste. He's got the higher taste of pure service to Krishna, but still the thought comes. Yeah? So there's the example. The thoughts will come. as long as we have this material body. So what do? We tolerate. Yeah? Vacho vegam manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam urupasta vegam. One who is able to tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals, is able to have disciples all over the world. So it's about tolerating. Also in the Bhagavatam, it says it's like an itch. You get an itch, just like sometimes here in Mayapur we get some itch. You get bitten by some mosquito and it causes some itching. So initially you might itch it once, but if you're intelligent, you won't itch it again, right? We might have had the experience. I remember there was one devotee. He got bombarded by mosquitoes. He got bit so many times on his foot, and he was scratching and scratching. He couldn't control the itch, so he was scratching and scratching and scratching. And what happened? Blood. Eventually the skin opens up. But if he would have tolerated, it would have gone away. So it's an itch. It's an itch that goes on throughout our life. But, as we've seen, so many wonderful Vaishnavas, sannyasis, and brahmacharis can tolerate. And it's not that only the brahmacharis and sannyasis got to tolerate, everybody's got to tolerate it. We all have to tolerate it if we want to advance in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So this is the main itch in the material world. And even Arjuna asked Krishna, what is it that forces a person to act practically against his own will? What is that? Kamesha, krodesha. It's lust only, Arjuna. Born of the mode of passion, transformed into anger, is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. So this is the greatest enemy of the world. So don't surrender to the enemy. This is our main enemy in the material world. And Prabhupada always encouraged, if you can, stay brahmachari. And I remember when I first joined, I was encouraged in that way. Stay brahmachari, distribute books, give your life to Krishna. And I'm very grateful to my president. Here's my ex-president, my first president, Narahari Prabhu. I was encouraged by my president, by the guru, and devotees. It was very good. And somehow I've been able to make it so far. And therefore so many books have been going out. Thousands of books have been going out. Devotees are joining by book distribution. So this is, yesterday we heard, well, start a family when you're young, have a lot of children, and let's increase the society. But this is also another way to increase our society. Book distribution. Prabhupada said that if this book distribution stops, eventually there will be no longer any Hari Hari Bo. So it's very important. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had so many children. That's wonderful children. Prabhupada had so many children. How many children? 5 children. Did any of them become devotees? Not one. One was favorable. Vrindavan was favorable. And Prabhupada, he's a Paramahamsa, Shakti Vaishnavatar, descended for the upliftment of people's spiritual lives. Advaita Acharya had 6 sons. Only 3 were devotees. 3 of them deviated, Mayavadis. And he's God. So it's not that automatically you have a child that's going to become a devotee. I've been around for a long time. I've seen a lot of children grow up in our society, and once they grow up, very little interest in Krishna. Even some becoming atheists and violent towards devotees. So it's not automatic. It's very difficult to raise a child and have that child come up a nice devotee. Very difficult. And just like it's difficult to make devotees through book distribution, through preaching. It's in the age of Kali, it's difficult to make devotees. So there's different ways that we can make devotees. So I thought there should be like a balance, a little balance from yesterday's class. A nice class, wonderful class, but a little balance. So desires will come. What does Krishna say? Apoyamanam achalapatishtam samudramapa pavasanti yadva tadvat kamayam pavasanti sarve sasantim apnobdi nakama kami. One who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires which enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but which is always steady, alone achieves peace, and not the person who strives to satisfy such desires. So desires are going to come, no doubt. Let them go. These material desires, let them go. Yeah? And those spiritual desires, keep them. Prabhupada was at a temple. And the temple president went to him and said, Prabhupada, we at this temple have a very strong desire to distribute your books. And Prabhupada said, oh, very good. Don't let that desire go. So some desires we want to keep, you know, and guard. You know. Other desires, we want to let them go. And what is the best way to let them go? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. This will purify us. And we may think, I've been chanting for so long, I don't feel it. I don't feel it happening. I don't feel it. I'm getting purified. I'm just like a child. I remember in Los Angeles, there was one little boy, he's about 5 years old. I told him, you know, believe it or not, you're not growing anymore. You're a midget. So he got upset and he went to his mother and said, Mommy, Vijay says I'm a midget. I'm not growing anymore. Is that true? No, he's playing with you. It's okay. You're growing. I see you're growing. It's okay. So when you're young, you don't notice. It's a slow growth program. When you're young, he doesn't notice. So we're children. We may not notice how we're growing spiritually. But each time we chant this Hare Krishna mantra, we're getting closer to Krishna. We're growing. We may not notice, but we're growing. And don't think that, well, but I don't feel like I'm an advanced devotee. I don't feel like I'm advancing. Krishnadas Kaviraj says he feels himself lower than a worm in stool. Anybody that chants my name loses all pious credit. He's probably one of the most advanced devotees that ever walked this planet. Wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Nityananda comes to him in a dream. Go to Vrindavan. An extremely advanced devotee, but he didn't feel like he was advanced. So if you don't feel you're advancing, it's good. There's a nice pastime of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in this regard. 3 brahmacharis went to him and they said to him, we decided to leave because we don't feel the process is working. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I'm very happy to hear that. He said, if you had come to me and said, you know, Maharaj, you know, this process is really good, we're doing good, you know, I feel like I'm advancing, it's working, you know, I feel like I'm improving in my devotional service and I'm going to higher realms of spiritual ecstasy. And he said, I would have been very disappointed. It's natural for devotees of the Lord to feel like they're not advanced, that they're not advancing. So he preached to them like this for about an hour. That no, you're healthy, you're growing spiritually. And that you don't feel that you're growing spiritually, that's okay, that's good. And they were very inspired by that conversation, and they stayed and they never left. And they became advanced devotees. So humility, this is one of the natural results of devotional service. One becomes very humble. Doesn't feel he's advanced. So, by this yajna, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, by this yajna, this chanting of Hare Krishna, we're going to get purified. We may not know how it's happening. Just like if you're sick, you take some medicine. Does anybody here know how medicine works? We don't know how it works. Ayurvedic or allopathic, we don't know how it works. I had an ear infection about 4 months ago. It's really bad. All this fluid is coming out, and I was losing my hearing. So I went to the pharmaceutical department there, and they said, you have to go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital. They gave me this fluid. 3 days it was gone. I have no idea how it worked, but it worked really good. I was impressed. Knocked it out. I have no idea how it worked. So this Hare Krishna mantra is medicine. We may not know how it's working, but it's Krishna. The Hare Krishna mantra is Krishna. And Krishna is very powerful. He's the most powerful. And Vedyam Pavitram Omkaram. He's purifying. He's the most expert at purifying. Any way we come in contact with Krishna, we get purified. Brahmarpadam Brahmavir Brahmagna Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Kama Samadhina. That devotees of the Lord who are engaged in Krishna consciousness are sure to attain the spiritual kingdom, the spiritual world. Why? Because of their full contribution to spiritual activities, in which that which is consumed is absolute, and everything that is given is absolute. Yeah. So this is the Hare Krishna movement. Everything that we accept is in relation to Krishna. We read books only in relation to Krishna. And we're so fortunate to have all these wonderful books. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada says in one purport that you can read the Srimad Bhagavatam thousands of times. You can read the Bhagavad Gita thousands of times, and each time you read it, you're going to get new insight in the subject matter. So this is the nature of these wonderful books that we've received, and daily we're absorbing them. And each day that we read these books, we're getting more and more purified. And we're not just reading them, we're giving them out. We're giving them out to others. Last year we distributed over 9 million books. Increase over the year before. So Prabhupada liked that. He would say double it. It's a little hard to double it every year, but but we're increasing. So people are also getting a chance to hear about Krishna. So we only accept things that are in relation to Krishna. We only accept prasadam. We don't eat bhoga. Just like all of us, before we joined, not all of us, actually probably most of us, we used to eat all these nonsense foods, candy bars and all this junk food. But now, after coming in contact with Prabhupada, we understand, no, this is not good. Prabhupada says in the purport that if we eat food which is prepared by non-devotees, our heart becomes wicked. Because the consciousness goes there, into the food. So therefore the cooks for the deities, they're always brahmanas. You can't just be initiated, that's not enough. You got to be a brahmana. You got to be around for a while. Because the consciousness is there. This is for Krishna. This is for the pleasure of Krishna. So Pururava, although he had this intense desire to be with Urvasi, he was intelligent. He worshipped Krishna. And here it's mentioned, Yagya Isham. He worshipped Krishna. And it's stated that another name for Krishna is Kartam Isha, which means the boss. So King Pururava, he worshipped the boss. And Krishna, he's the best boss. Because Krishna is not only interested in the result, he likes results. Like Prabhupada, he liked results. Krishna also likes results. But more important than the result is you. We are more important to Krishna than the result. Yeah. He wants us to get purified. He wants us to go back home. Yeah. And therefore he comes and he gives us the Bhagavad Gita. He comes himself. He sends his pure devotees. In so many ways he comes to help us back home, back to Godhead. So this is the mercy of the supreme boss, Krishna. And generally, throughout the world, bosses of their businesses, they're very interested in the results and not so much interested in you, in the worker. They want the results. It's like, imagine there's a book distributor. He's trying all day, working hard all day, distribute books, doesn't sell one book, but he's sincerely trying. Krishna is still pleased because the sincerity of purpose. Krishna is still pleased. Now you go to some business where someone's working very hard all day long and there's no result. What's the boss going to do? Fired. Right? You're fired. Krishna never fires anybody. You can be a Hitler or a Stalin, just the worst of the worst. Krishna is still there, right next to them, waiting for them to turn to him again. Krishna doesn't fire anybody. Therefore, he's the most compassionate. Krishna has unlimited wonderful qualities, but this quality, as mentioned in the Nectar Devotion, is the most prominent quality of Krishna. His compassion. Very compassionate. And therefore, we have this wonderful International Society for Krishna Consciousness. This is a result of Krishna's compassion. And devotees also, by connecting with Krishna, they also develop the qualities of Krishna. So this compassion also comes out. These qualities are actually there within living. Just like this love for Krishna. It's there in the hearts of everyone. These qualities of the pure devotee are there within us. They just have to come out. Just like within wood, there's fire. It's coming from the sun. If you ignite the wood, the fire will come out. But what if the wood is drenched with water? It's waterlogged, completely drenched with water. Can you light the wood then? Actually, you can. You can still light the wood. But the fire has to be under the wood for a long, long, long time. And eventually the moisture will come out of the wood. Yeah? And once the moisture comes out of the wood, then the fire will come out of the wood as well. So some of us are a little bit waterlogged, yeah? A little hard for the devotion to come out. But if we continue this chanting, we're going to get purified. We're going to get purified. And that love for Krishna will come out. But this great enemy, this lust, is a major obstacle to this love coming out, which is actually just a perverted reflection of our love for Krishna. This lust is just a perverted reflection of our love for Krishna. Yeah. So we're trying to get purified of this. Not easy. We have to understand that this is not me. This body is not who I am. We've heard it a million times. I'm not this body. We're not this body. But to realize that It's difficult. Prabhupada was speaking about this, and he said, actually the body is dead. Everybody knows. So Prabhupada's Uttama Adhikari was coming out in this statement. I mean, how many of us know the body is dead? Even as devotees, how many of us realize the body is dead? Yeah. So Prabhupada, he says, as everybody knows, the body is dead. Very few realize the body is dead. But it is. It's actually dead. It appears to be alive because the soul is within it. But it's dead. It's just dead matter. Just like sometimes people have these puppet shows. And the puppeteer will have his hand in some costume. And the little children, the 2-year-old children, are watching, and they're entertained by the show. And they think it's alive. The little child, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, they think it's alive. But then after the show, later they might see that behind the curtain, oh, it was just a costume. It wasn't really alive. So this body is a costume that appears to be alive, but it's not. Just like if I were to leave this body right now, this body would just lay limp. It would be lifeless. But because I'm in it, it appears to be alive. Prabhupada was speaking about this, and he said, just like these glasses. The glasses don't see. The eyes are seeing through the glasses. Similarly, the eyes don't see. It's the soul seen through. The soul is seen through the eyes, hearing through the ears. It's a machine, very sophisticated. I'm going to tell you one interesting thing. Some of you may be familiar with an old series in America called The Twilight Zone. There was one episode that was very instructive. I'm going to reveal to you here. It's interesting. There was one man who was a big criminal, biggest criminal on the planet. So they decided to give him a special punishment. So the punishment was they're going to take him to another planet, and it would only be him on the planet. Solitary confinement. But he has the whole planet. You know, science fiction. There's a science fiction show. So they take him in the spaceship and they drop him off with some supplies. It's just him on the planet. Now, one might think, well, that's not too bad. But it's just him. There's no association. It's just him up there. So every couple months, they would come and they would leave some supplies, water and food. And when they would come, he would beg them, please, please don't leave. Please stay, talk to me. Come on, let's play some checkers. Or come on, don't leave me. Sorry, got to go. And then it was actually, it's like torture. You know, just by yourself there. So this is going on for years. And one time they decided to do some mercy, give him some mercy. So they left a box. And they said, this may help out. So he opened the box after they left. It was a robot. So he assembled the robot, and it was a woman. And she started talking. And he was surprised. Wow, you're a robot, but you talk. And you move around. He was surprised. But then he said, but you're just a robot. You're just a robot. You're not a person, you're just a robot. This is a joke. And he pushed the robot down. It fell down. And the robot said, you hurt me. What do you mean I hurt you? You're just a robot. You can't be hurt. I'm a special robot. You've hurt me. So then he apologized. And he had somebody to talk to. He was very happy. I could talk to somebody now. Of course, that's not somebody, it's something. But he was able to talk now to somebody and have an exchange. So this is going on for years. Then the ship came again, and they had some good news for him. They said, you know, your sentence has been lifted. You can go back to America now. We're taking you back to America. So he was so happy. You can imagine, he was in ecstasy. Oh, I can go back to my home. I can go back to America. And he told Elisa, the robot, I can go back home now. I'll bring you with me. I'll show you America. You'll love it. It's a wonderful place. I'll show you all around America. And one of the guys there that brought the robot said, oh, I was afraid that was going to happen. In other words, that he was going to think that the robot is alive. So he took out his gun to shoot the robot. And the prisoner said, no, 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 don't shoot. She's my friend. She's my friend. Don't shoot. And then he shot. And the next scene in the show is the robot is there with springs and wires and poles. And the prisoner was like, wow. It wasn't real. I thought it was real. It was just a robot. And he was shocked to his senses. So this body is a machine. What does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? Isvara sarvabhutanam hridasarjuna pramad hridasarjuna tasthati. That this body, it's a machine. He says, I'm seated within the hearts of all living entities, and I'm directing the wanderings of everyone who are seated as though on a machine made of the material nature. So this body is a machine. But it's a very, very, very sophisticated machine. It's so sophisticated that it has a mind of its own. It can see, it can hear, it can speak. It's an amazing machine. But it's a machine. And we're not this machine. It's dead. It's dead. But we're alive. And we're so alive that we can't die. That's how alive we are. Nainam chindanti sastrani. You can't be killed by any weapon. You can't burn the soul. We're alive. But the body, Prabhupada said, when the soul leaves the body, then you see the real nature of the body. Now we don't see the real nature because we're in it. We think it's alive. But when we leave the body, then we see the real nature of the body. It's dead. So, fortunately, we're given this opportunity to engage in pure devotional service. This is the goal, pure devotional service. Not an easy thing to achieve, but I have some very good news for you. You want to hear some good news? We'll finish it off with this pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You know, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was a huge atheist. I mean, she's not atheist. He was a Mayavadi, which kind of go hand in hand. He was the biggest Mayavadi in India. He was famous. He was in Puri, so Lord Chaitanya goes there to deliver him. And just to make a long story short, he becomes a devotee, a great devotee. Such a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya that Lord Chaitanya revealed to him his Sadbhuj form. Krishna, and Ram, and Lord Chaitanya. So, a great, great, great Vaishnava. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he wanted to invite Lord Chaitanya to lunch. So him and his wife, they cooked up a huge feast for Lord Chaitanya to please him. He had one son-in-law, Amoga. Now this Amoga had a very, very bad reputation. He had such a bad reputation that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was guarding the door with a stick, just in case he comes to blaspheme Lord Chaitanya. He's there to beat him. Now generally, you know, fathers have nice relations with the son-in-law, you know, the husband of his daughter, you know, generally there's nice relationship. He had a stick. Just to give you an idea of the reputation he had. I don't know what he did, but something really heavy. So his wife is serving up prasadam to Lord Chaitanya, and he's the guard. So he sees that his wife needs some help. So he becomes a little inattentive in his guard duty. And Amoga comes, sticks his head in the door, sees Lord Chaitanya with all this prasadam in front of him, and he says, "What is this? What is it? What kind of a sannyasi is this? This is enough for 10 men. What kind of renunciation is this?" So as soon as Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya hears this, he looks at him. And if sight could burn somebody, he would have been burnt to ashes. So when Amoga saw this, he thought, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. So he took off running. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya went after him with his stick to beat him. He's an elderly man, couldn't catch him, but he tried. So he came back, lamenting like anything. His wife is lamenting like anything, because Lord Chaitanya had come to their home and been criticized, blasphemed. So they felt so bad. And Lord Chaitanya said, don't worry about it. It's okay. He's right. You know, I'm a sannyasi. I shouldn't be eating so much. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But they felt so bad. So Lord Chaitanya went home. Next day, Gopinath Acharya, the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he went there to Lord Chaitanya, and he asked, "So how is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his wife doing?" "They're fasting." "Why are they fasting? It's not such a big deal. It's not, I shouldn't be eating so much. It's right." And Amoga, how's Amoga? He's dying. He's dying of cholera. So as soon as Lord Chaitanya heard that, he went to where Amoga was on his deathbed, and he said, "Amoga, the heart of a Brahmana is naturally very pure. Why have you allowed this chandala of envy to sit in your heart, making it an uncomfortable place for Krishna to sit?" Then he put his hand. Lord Chaitanya had a big hand, because he was big. How big was Lord Chaitanya? 7 feet. So he had a big hand. So he put his hand on his chest, and he said, "Now, however, Amoga, because you are the son-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I remove all contamination from your heart. And when the heart is purified, naturally one chants, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare." So Amoga jumps out of his deathbed, and he is chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And he's dancing in ecstasy. Tears are flowing from his eyes. His hairs are standing on end. He's shivering. Complete love of God. Lord Chaitanya gave him love of God. He bows down to Lord Chaitanya and begs for forgiveness for his offending him. And he starts slapping his face as hard as he could. Not soft like this, but as hard as he could. He's slapping his face. His face becomes swollen. He's slapping it so hard, just as hard as he could. He's slapping it. It becomes red and swollen. And Gopinath Acharya came and restrained him. So the good news is, his only qualification was he was related to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Not even a blood relation. It wasn't a spiritual relationship, no relation. We're all related to Srila Prabhupada. As our Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He's either our father or our grandfather. We have a very, very intimate relationship with someone who is very, very dear to Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada is very dear to Lord Chaitanya. Pritiviti Achayata Nagarari Gram. It was predicted that the name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya would go to all the villages and towns throughout the world. Prabhupada did it. And we have a relationship with him. So there's hope. There's hope. Then we can go back to Godhead. But we have to follow his instructions. Okay, so it's a little late. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
That was a wonderful. I felt like a joy.